The knock came at 11:47 p.m., three sharp raps that cut through the silence of Marcus Webb's cramped apartment like a judge's gavel. He froze at the kitchen sink, dishwater dripping from his trembling hands, his 8-year-old daughter Maya's lunchbox half-washed for tomorrow. No one knocked at his door this late. No one knocked at his door ever, except the landlord demanding rent or his ex-wife's lawyer with more papers he couldn't afford to fight. Marcus dried his hands on a threadbare towel and moved quietly toward the door, his heart hammering. Through the peephole, he saw her, Catherine Price, CEO of Price Industries, the woman whose relentless emails and midnight conference calls had carved dark circles under his eyes and stolen every spare moment he might have spent with Maya. She stood in his dingy hallway wearing a coat that probably cost more than his monthly salary, looking as out of place as a diamond in a dumpster. His first instinct was to pretend he wasn't home. For 6 weeks, Catherine had pushed him to the breaking point and beyond. As the lead architect on her flagship hotel project, Marcus had worked until 2 a.m. most nights, survived on cold pizza and colder coffee, and missed Maya's school play, her parent-teacher conference, and the moment she lost her first tooth. He'd found it on her pillow the next morning with a heartbreaking note, "Dear Daddy, the tooth fairy forgot me. It's okay. I know you're busy. Love, Maya." That note sat in his wallet now, a constant reminder of his failures. Catherine knocked again, louder this time. "Mr. Webb, I know you're there. I can see your shadow. Please, I need to speak with you." Marcus unlocked the deadbolt, opened the door just wide enough to block her view of the disaster inside. The laundry he hadn't folded, the dishes he hadn't washed, the homework he'd helped Maya finish at midnight because he'd worked through dinner again. "Ms. Price." His voice came out harder than he intended. "It's almost midnight. Whatever revisions you need can wait until morning." But Catherine's expression stopped him cold. She wasn't wearing her usual armor of confidence and control. Her eyes were red, her mascara slightly smudged. She looked almost human. "I'm not here about the project," she said quietly. "May I come in? Just for a moment?" Every fiber of Marcus's being screamed no. This woman had taken everything from him already. But something in her face, a vulnerability he'd never seen during their countless video calls, made him step aside. Catherine entered his small apartment, and Marcus watched her take it all in. The sagging couch with the duct-taped cushion, Maya's drawings covering the refrigerator, the tiny bedroom door decorated with princess stickers, the life he'd been desperately trying to hold together with both hands while she demanded more and more of his time. "Would you like some coffee?" Marcus asked, falling back on automatic politeness. "It's instant, but it's all I have." "No, thank you." Catherine remained standing, clutching her expensive purse like a shield. "I came to apologize." Marcus blinked. In 6 weeks of brutal deadlines and impossible demands, Catherine Price had never apologized for anything. "This afternoon, my assistant quit," she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "She didn't give 2 weeks' notice. She just put her keys on my desk and said she couldn't sacrifice her family anymore for someone who didn't value humanity over profit margins." Catherine's hands trembled slightly. "Then she said something that made me physically ill. She said I reminded her of her father, who worked himself into an early grave and never attended a single one of her birthdays." Marcus said nothing. He thought of Maya, asleep in the next room, who'd stopped asking him to read bedtime stories because she knew he was always too tired. "I went back to my office and looked at the project timeline," Catherine said. "Really looked at it. Then I pulled up your employee file. Single father, primary custody, no family in the area. Every email I'd sent you was timestamped between 8 p.m. and 3 a.m. Every deadline I'd set required weekend work." She met his eyes. "I calculated that in the last 6 weeks, you've worked 427 hours. That's more than most people work in 3 months. The project needed." "No." Catherine cut him off. "I needed to prove something. To my board, to my investors, to my father's memory. I needed this hotel to be perfect, to be done fast, to make headlines. And I was willing to destroy you to do it." Marcus felt something crack open in his chest, 6 weeks of exhaustion and resentment and guilt pouring out. "Do you know what my daughter asked me yesterday?" His voice broke. "She asked if I still loved her. Because I'm never home, and when I am, I'm working. She's 8 years old, and she thinks my laptop is more important than she is." A tear rolled down Catherine's cheek, and she didn't wipe it away. I don't have children. I've never been married. I've built my entire life around Price Industries because it was the only thing my father thought I might be capable of running. Even that, he doubted. She took a shaky breath. But that doesn't give me the right to ask you to sacrifice your daughter for my insecurities. She reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. This is a check for every hour of overtime you've worked, paid at triple rate. It's also a formal apology and a new contract. The hotel deadline has been extended by 4 months. You'll work 40 hours a week, no more. All weekend and evening work is suspended unless there's a genuine emergency, which will be determined by you, not me. And you're getting an assistant and 2 additional architects to support you. Marcus stared at the envelope, afraid to touch it, afraid this was some kind of hallucination born of sleep deprivation. I also called the Ritz-Carlton and booked you and Maya a suite for this weekend, Catherine continued. Full spa access, room service, the works. You're taking Friday off, and you're going to spend 3 days remembering what matters. Why? Marcus whispered. Why now? Catherine smiled sadly. Because my assistant's daughter is getting married next month, and she's going to walk her down the aisle. And I realized that if I keep going the way I've been going, I'll die alone in my office with nothing but profit margins and architectural drawings to show for my life. She moved toward the door, then paused. Also because when I looked at your daughter's photo on your desk this morning, really looked at it, I saw the same sadness in her eyes that I saw in my own childhood photos. And I decided I wouldn't be responsible for creating another little girl who grows up believing she isn't worth her parents' time. Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. He'd been so angry at this woman, had resented her so deeply, and now she stood in his apartment at midnight offering not just money but genuine change, genuine recognition of his humanity. Thank you, he managed. You didn't have to come here. You could have just sent an email. No, Catherine said firmly. If I've learned anything tonight, it's that the important things deserve to be said face to face. She opened the door, then turned back one last time. Your daughter is lucky to have you, Mr. Webb. Don't let anyone, including me, make you forget that. After she left, Marcus stood in his quiet apartment for a long moment, the envelope in his hands. Then he walked to Maya's room and gently pushed open the door. His daughter slept peacefully, her small chest rising and falling, one arm wrapped around the stuffed elephant he'd given her for her 6th birthday. Marcus sat on the edge of her bed and whispered, I'm sorry, baby girl. But things are going to be different now. I promise. The next morning, Maya bounced into the kitchen to find her father making pancakes, on a Thursday. Daddy, you're home. I am, Marcus said, scooping her into a hug. And guess what? This weekend, you and I are going to a fancy hotel with a pool and room service and anything else you want. Maya's eyes went wide with wonder. Really? You don't have to work? Nope. Just you and me, kiddo. She wrapped her small arms around his neck and whispered, I knew the tooth fairy would come eventually. Marcus held his daughter close and thought about Catherine Price, a woman who'd been brave enough to recognize her mistakes and human enough to make them right. Sometimes, he realized, redemption comes at midnight, carrying an apology and the promise of change. And sometimes, that's enough to restore faith in humanity itself.